loading. Give it a second. And here we are for an episode of Dualistic Unity Raw call-in edition. I love these shows. It's been a while since we've done one of these, just because we had the Vermont retreat and we've had other things up in the air here and there. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot happening. We have another Vancouver retreat that's coming up on October 4th. October 5th to 9th. And that's going to be focused on play. This is going to be our eighth retreat as a whole. And I have to say, I have learned so much in general about, I'm going to raise my volume up, sorry about that, about what it is I'm doing, about what Dualistic Unity is. I mean, frankly, I don't know what the fuck this is. And I've said this since the very beginning. And I think that's why I'm so heavily invested in, is because I have no idea what it's doing. I don't know where it's going. I know what the intention is. I know how much attention I put into it from moment to moment to moment. But to watch it structure itself over time, to watch us now at the fifth season, whatever the fuck that means, because I mean, we have raw episodes and social episodes, and those aren't really seasonal by any means, right? But I find myself noticing that there really is just this overarching intelligence at play. It's so very hard to see in a world where we're all so caught up in our own shit, where we're all just, trying to scramble for some sense that we're going to be okay or that we're better. And so it's very difficult to see anything outside of what you're focused on, what you're staring at. But the more I do this, the more I relax into the conversation and let it do its own thing, basically let my existence be what it is, the more I see that there really is like a gravity to it. And then I see other people let go, like Andrew, Amanda, and a number of other people in our community. And you see these ripples around them. And it's not that they're trying to influence anyone. It's that they're not. And in a world where everybody's trying to influence someone else or trying to find someone to be influenced by, all of a sudden it's just like this breath of fresh fucking air. And for me, I don't think of it that way. For me, it's just about how I'm benefiting from letting go. But it's incredible to see, after half my life of letting go, how many of us want to just let go. To watch all of this just play out, and it's beautiful. And Dualistic Unity is more and more becoming, and I described it this way to somebody the other day, including Andrew, I think it was in a Patreon call. It's kind of like our ship. We're building a ship, and it's a place that we can kind of chill out, have the conversation that we want to have, and adventure around our own consciousness without being afraid of what other people are going to think of what we're doing. Like, everybody's kind of doing the same journey, but in a different way, in a different direction. And it's just a mutual intent to let go, to not judge, because if you're judging yourself, and we all know it. And so it's just so cool to watch whatever the fuck this is grow, to see this next retreat coming up, and then the Netherlands retreat after that. That is mind-blowing to me, because it's so funny. We planned that retreat at one point and we're like, fuck it, I wonder if we could do it. I wonder if we could just have a community of people that big just come together and hang. And holy Christ, if any of these retreats have shown anything, is that it's absolutely possible. Anything is possible. So I don't know where I was going with any of that. And I think that's the point, is I just want to express to everyone, Andrew, Amanda, who I know is in the waiting room and ready to join this call-in show, and all of you listening, this is a fucking dream come true. And I say that from my perspective, and I say that after receiving letter after letter after letter from people saying that they're changing their lives, and they're changing their lives. The podcast changed my life. And it isn't the podcast, it's you. It's you feeling like you feeling like you have a place that you can just toss these thoughts around. That's what's changing your life. It's fucking awesome. I'm really enjoying watching it, and I appreciate everything that everyone is doing to make this happen. I really do.
Likewise, man. And appreciate everything you do with all of this, and just everyone involved, everyone willing to, in the face of as much fear and control is getting thrown around and invested in and desired and strived for, and just things being made up and created just to mitigate all of the suffering that we're perpetuating for ourselves as we go, with focus on fucking meaningless bullshit. And your willingness to look at all of that, be involved in all of that, grow up in all of that and see it for what it is, as opposed to continuing over and over and over to invest in that bullshit. It's going against the grain, going against the majority, but not against anything, because it is just you for you. And that's all it's gotta be. You can fucking live for yourself and just do it for you and your experience, because there isn't a benefit to holding on to quite so much bullshit and judgment and perception. It doesn't have the payoff. The judgment doesn't have the payoff. And as soon as the judgment stops, as soon as it's not there as often, whether about yourself or about anyone else, the judgment stops. Like, the judgment that you hear is your own judgment all the fucking time. And if you're not continuing to do it over and over and over, it's not there. It's just not there. And then you can just keep going. Then you can just keep stepping through and keep doing it for you. And that's it.
And that's the joke. That's the joke. That's only funny when you get it. It's only funny when you get it. When you're like, oh my God, I'm hurting myself and I can stop. That's when it's funny. But if you're telling yourself you can't, that you have reasons to hurt yourself, or you're holding on to it, it's not funny at all. In fact, it sucks. And on that note, we're going to let in Amanda, because I know she wants to talk about being space, which is very much what we're talking about. Just being and allowing space to come through you. So this is going to be an intensely good conversation. It's always nice to see Amanda, who is also at the Vermont retreat and will be joining us in Vancouver. For anybody who is looking to see Amanda again, she's at all of our retreats because she is our administrative coordinator. She keeps us on task.
And what is up? Good to see you.
Just doing my thing. I have, my thing is going off. We need to turn off one of these things, one thing at a time for sure.
Not for too long.
I know. I just needed the notifications just for a minute, just because I really appreciate being space with both of you. And so that is my priority. And so you have just seen me make that the ultimate priority, which took no effort and was just a quick decision. And I could think about why I did it, what I could do instead. And I'm like, you know what? We made the decision and we're here. And so I just saw the live. Incredible. I thought it was really appropriate that you talked about, Andrew, how at the beginning of this podcast, you were talking about like the universe and awareness and like space and like a very large capacity. And I was driving home today and I had gone to the office to run an errand. And then I had stopped at the library because the errand couldn't happen. The person I was supposed to meet wasn't ready. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go to the library. And I grabbed the book that I had been looking for a few days now. And I was so happy that I felt like I was in cartwheel energy. And so I did a couple of cartwheels and I was dancing and I was just like dancing across this sculpture garden, this Dr. Seuss sculpture garden, because it was in Springfield, Massachusetts. Birthplace of Dr. Seuss, and I was just having the best time. And then I got a call from the coworker, and he's like, "Oh, I'm ready." I was like, "All right, I'm just 2 minutes away." So dance party stops. We switch gears. We pivot. We get into the car. We're singing in the parking lot to the car. We get there. We meet him. For the first time. I've never met him in person, but then I switch out my the cords I needed to work from home, and I'm driving home, and I'm just thinking about being space. And when I went to the library, this happened to be my favorite childhood library that I spent hours in. Like, I got dropped off there with like a little lunchbox with like a couple sandwiches and a few snacks, and I'd be there for like the whole day. And it was really special to go back there because it felt like another home, but it also reminded me that I carry that feeling with me. And so on the drive home, I cried, and I was just so grateful that, like, as much as I've never realized it, like, I've always been the space for me. Like, whether I was in a library and I picked a corner and then I made that corner my bubble, or I was at a sculpture garden and I'm creating cartwheel space for me to fill up. And And I was thinking about being space for other people, or really more so just not demanding their space, because that's the only thing that feels like a recent appreciation, is how much I appreciate being space for myself, and how I don't want to take that from anyone else. And I never can, but it almost can look that way, or I can demand it. Despite the fact that I could never get it from you, I could demand your space, or I could want to control the space that you occupy, or I could try to be the only thing that fills it up. But really, it's just you. And so it was really beautiful for you to talk about how you only were focusing on being like the larger space. And it's like, yeah, but that's also included, because whether I feel like I'm just Amanda, I also feel like the room I'm in, I feel like the city that I'm in, I feel like the state and the country and the planet and the universe. I feel like all of that space, even if I don't acknowledge it. So whether I focus on the larger or perceived to be smaller pieces, it's like I am always that space for myself. And we're always that, but there be instances where I thought like I needed to find my space. And I got to really sit in it like, I am my space, and so are you, and so are we. And so it just feels really beautiful to just appreciating that space together.
Beautifully said. Yeah. I feel like as you're describing the space that you found sort of growing up and always having that sort of space, I feel like I'm just sort of finding my space. And it's so fucking interesting that you brought up how we were talking on the Twitch about, universe and focusing all on that. And it's like, for me, it's almost felt like there was like, if you're in a bubble, like a gerbil bubble or a hamster bubble, and it's like I was everything outside of that bubble, like the prioritization was everything outside of the bubble as opposed to inside of the bubble, because you see that's where the experience, it's not that it stops, but it's like anything that you're perceiving is your responsibility, like in the sense of your response and reaction to it. And so it's been very interesting for me just realizing that space that you described, and the realization that it's not that it's within your control, but moment to moment, it's you. And that's what you have influence over, no matter what is going on outside of that space. It's like you have the ability to respond any which way to what's going on, what's happening. And it's the most empowering thing you can possibly recognize. And that combined with the uncertainty is both empowering and exciting, because there isn't even another perception that you have to worry about, because it's always just yours. So there's no other perception for there to be concerned about that you know of, because it's just yours. So as yours chills the fuck out, the perceptions and the judgments chill the fuck out. And so it's always that space that you have. It's it's empowering and exciting.
I'm just in awe of it, to be honest with you. Like it's so funny. It's something I've learned over the years, especially in life coaching. And I've said this to you, how my path to coaching changed over time. Like when I first started coaching, I'm like, okay, I got like a checklist here. I'm going to find out about these people. I'm going to take them through the ropes. I'm going to have, certain exercises, and I'm going to have certain things that they should do, and homework, and blah, 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 blah. And all of which was just, intellectual masturbation, trying to feel like I was in control of their path and all of that. And so over time, you start to recognize like, no. In fact, all you're teaching them there is to want that control, to have that structure themselves. And what are you trying to teach them other than you're okay? Have faith in yourself, but you don't have faith in yourself. That's why you're using all these goddamn things. So eventually you just let them go. And the lesson comes across. They're like, you're not trying to like hold on to things and make sure I'm going to be okay. And you're like, no, because I know we're going to be okay. And then it's genuine. It's genuine. And that was the biggest thing in coaching that changed for me, was the recognition that all I had to know was that I could do it. because that's all we're really translating to other people. Because if you can do it, they can. But if you can't, then you'll never truly believe in them.
Oh my goodness, I love that. So I had said that it's been a few days of attempting to get this book by Terry Pratchett, The Color of Magic, which I'm very excited about. But it's been a mission to get to the book that talks about other missions, that Terry thought of. So I'm like, all right, a mission for the mission. I'm here for it. But on the way to the library yesterday, that was closed. I had bumped into this homeless man who happened to be playing a piano, and I danced and he was playing, and then he stopped playing. So I stopped him and we're having a chat just about being the center of your universe. And he ultimately said that he didn't feel like he was good enough to be the center of his universe. But my audio is breaking up.
A little bit, and I think it might just be there's a bit of a lag, and I think it might just be there's a bit of a lag, and I so yeah, now I'm listening to myself. That's probably not a good sign. So yeah, now I'm listening to myself. That's probably not a good sign.
Oh no, this is it. The Terminator movies were true.
I think I know what it is. If
I'll be back.
If you have any tabs open where you're playing this on another website, that's what it is. Where you're playing this on another website, that's what it is.
Oh, I do that. I do try to get multiple views. I do. Let me put some shit out. Right, we closed it.
There you are.
Are we back?
Yep. Yeah, it's just because you had the same stream playing as well as trying to broadcast, and so there was more data being used, and that's why it was cutting out your audio.
That makes total sense. There I am trying to, get us views while I'm on. I'm like, shit, one thing at a time. No, but I was chatting with Matthew yesterday, and it was really interesting to talk to him about just being space for himself. And he didn't want to be, because he didn't think that he was good enough to fill up his space, to be his own universe, to be the center of it, to be the driving force behind it. And I just said, why? He's like, I don't want to trust myself, because my space should look differently. I should be in a certain office with a certain job and a certain title. And I was like, why? I know people that have those things and they're miserable. So that, the answer that you were given is not the only option available. And so as much as you have space for the fears and the insecurities and the other stories that have been given to you, there's always more space that you are. It's not just that. You're not just that fear that takes up, even though it looks like it takes up so much space. It's only because you're looking directly at it. The minute you take a step back, you can see that the fear didn't take up all the space, because it couldn't, because you made that fear, you made the space for the fear to occupy. And so of course there's more to it than just where a laser focused perspective. And so it was just really nice to be a reminder for him, because he's like, you sound so confident. It's like, it's not that I'm not confident. It's not that I'm confident in this. It's just that I told myself the other story enough times to want to question it, to want to let it go without questioning it. After questioning it enough, it's like, well, we could keep questioning it forever. And so at a certain point, it was just like, I could just let it go because I can. And I can just be more space because I can, because I've always been that space. And so that's why the ride home was so emotionally charged, because I didn't realize in how many different ways I have always been in the space for myself. And so moving into a new apartment, I got to see I was crafting a certain space. Moving to a new city, I was crafting a different space. And it's like, I have always been the space for myself. And so I treasure being that, and I treasure how other people experience that for themselves. And so I appreciate being the reminder and giving the reminder to everyone else that you are good enough to occupy all the space that you can create. And you don't even realize how much space that you could make, because you're so limited on the story, or you're so focused on the story that you can't do it. So you don't have to question that. You can just let that go and just take that leap of faith. And I said this to somebody earlier today, I can't make a decision for you to take that leap of faith, but I'm really excited if you do, because I'm just as nervous, and I'm taking leaps every single moment. And I can't think.
Most of everything that you've said through came fine. We really appreciate you being here and sharing this with us, Amanda. We're going to let you go. We've got somebody in the queue for now, but do come back later on in the show if you can. I'm not sure what the connection issue is, but I'm glad that you struggled through it with us.
Yeah, I was able to follow. Oh, shit. There we go. I am not a robot. I am not a robot. Beep pop boop beep. Beep pop.
Powering off, if that even gets through.
Well, that worked mostly, and we appreciate
could
you
hear
calling
everything.
in, Amanda. Well, I that's the thing, is that we could catch everything that was being said. Unfortunately, it was just not as smooth as normally we're used to. And this is one of the benefits of coming to a retreat, and take that opportunity to do a shameless plug, because you actually get to talk to Amanda in person. There's no interruptions. There's no mute button. There's no connectivity issues. So you see, everything's meant to happen because it happened, and then you do what you can with it. The next person who's coming in is Jay, who was also at a recent retreat. He would like to discuss uncertainty. It's not a topic that we normally get into here on Dualistic Unity, so might be out of our field.
You know, Ray, it's a very rare one, actually. I feel like we've only dabbled in it from time to time, but I see more on the forecast moving forward with Jay coming in the video. Jay, what is up?
Hello,
It's a little
hang on one
cloudy where you're
second.
at.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
You
are you
can.
ascending?
Good to see you, fellas. How's everything?
Great.
I am ascending. Yes, I am ascending. Moving through the clouds and the
Fifth
universe
dimension
here.
is
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
Jay. It is time, Jay. It is
It's like
time.
a moment from the Lion King.
The Lion-
Exactly.
Sweating you.
Good to see you. I'm having an exciting kind of a day. I'm actually full of adrenaline. Like I'm so full of freaking adrenaline right now. I've got my printer just came in, my inkjet printer that I ordered. Whew. So I'm having fun setting it up, and it's an exciting day. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the conversation. I like what Amanda had to share with regards to space and everything, because we really are, as you were alluding to in the earlier live episode, basically everything. It's not like we're even a fragment of everything. We just are, like our individual, down to the smallest atoms, quarks, gluons, and all that good stuff. It's all just intelligence in process. So with that understanding and keeping things kind of on an individual moment by moment basis of awareness, in that I've been a lot freer, and had the space to allow things to come into my life, like this printer. Like that was spontaneous. There it is. Spontaneous decision. Like I something I thought about. I always wanted to do like graphic design type stuff, but with some fear, doubt, and insecurity thrown in the mix when I was the story of Jay, like it just kind of never happened. And then the ability was there for me to do this. So I just one day just freaking did it. I didn't ask anybody's opinion about it at all. I'm just like, I'm fucking doing this. And so that's that. Yeah. You guys have any comments on that as of yet? And we can get into uncertainty too, or whatever.
That's what I got for you, because I mean, what I mean is, like, you're going to learn that, and then something else is going to come up, and you're going to be like, maybe I can add to this printing business. Maybe I could do vinyl. Maybe there's wraps. There's all kinds of stuff that you can get into, and you're like, but I don't know how to do that. I know specifically from running a graphics shop that we were doing car wraps, and we were doing a bunch of other stuff, none of which I had ever done, and I didn't mention that to the person who asked me if I wanted to start that shop. I was just like, yeah, I got this. And so I learned everything from scratch, even working on a 14 by 8 foot CNC table, cutting metal signs with this drill bit, many of them, and learning all about it, all of which I didn't know how to do. And every step of the way, my brain's like, but you don't know how to do that. And I told it to shut the fuck up so I could pay attention to what I was learning.
I love that. Yeah. It's always an option to not listen to that shit, right? It's always an option. Like, oh, I could look at that. Oh, I could get caught up in that. Or I could also not. Or I could also do something else. And so we're always faced with options of things. And, you know, there's the option to stick to the familiar or venture into the new. And there's like a, I don't know, subtle resistance to constantly staying with the familiar. Like they're not even a subtle. I mean, it's a fucking gigantic resistance to staying, to change, to staying with the familiar. And yet it's like, that's what almost what our end goal is to make things so familiar that we have total control. Cause I feel like control and familiarity kind of go hand in hand as well. You know, you go to the restaurant that you're familiar with, there's some control in that. All of a sudden, you know, you go to the new restaurant, there's the potential that you may like it more, but there's also the potential that you may not like it as much. And so that's where the uncertainty comes into play. But as you try and keep things the same, even, there's like this constant resistance, because change is what you are. Change is always happening. And so if you feel like you're changing, that's interesting too. When we feel like we're changing, we get worked up and we fight that. And even when like thoughts are changing, even when we start to realize, oh, I don't have to maintain that familiar pattern, that familiar response, even that, we're like, oh, this is different. Even if it's a thought we've invested in for a very long time, or a perception that was not benefiting us at all. And so in every moment, to bring it back to what you're talking about, we always have the option, you know, in every fucking thing that we do. And it comes down to us. And if people are telling us to do something, it's like we have the option to fucking listen to them or not, and tell them to fuck off, because I don't care what you're thinking.
That's it. Now is the give a fuck of anybody else's opinion, good or bad, or, you know, positive or negative, say, you know, is irrelevant. You know, my own opinion of me is totally fucking irrelevant. Like, that's actually the shit that gets in my way when I have some sort of an opinion or a thought of Jay. And that's something I'm noticing more and more, especially going into these new ventures and trying new things and getting out of my comfort zone, is that the story that I had of myself is completely untrue. Number one, I'll never, ever know what it is. And I'm okay with that. And it's all right, you know, because it's just experiencing awareness. That's all it is, you know, and it's all just happening. And there's no, I don't have to have a judgment about anything at all. And that's it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing realization to know that I don't have to rely on anybody. It is just me, you know. That's it at the end of the day, really. And that's you might have talked about the retreats earlier. That's the one big takeaway that I had from the retreat, is really it allowed everybody that was there to experience it in their own way. But what I got from it was just the unique experience of fully understanding the unity of me, you know. That's the best I can really say. But it was nice to have that experience there, to do that. Very helpful in this, while I'm springboarding off here and doing this new stuff too. Just mostly just staying present, you know. I'm just staying present and just doing without the judgment of where I'm at. What am I doing? Am I doing okay? You know, what should I, you know, there's no real stress. It's been very easy and flowy, even all this new shit. It's uncomfortable. Yeah. But fuck it. That's it. Just do. That's all.
That's pretty much it for me. That's really, I tried all the other shit. I tried thinking about it. I've fucking tried to control my way into numerous different things that I thought would be better for me. And every fucking time I end up on my fucking knees, just crying to God, what the fuck is happening? And so finally I just figured out, I'm just going to do what I'm doing and just see where that goes. That's pretty much where I'm at now. And every time, you know, I start thinking about whether or not I can do something, I remind myself, I don't fucking know. I don't know. And I won't know unless I try. And that's the whole thing. That's it. That's as simple as it fucking gets. And the brain hates that. It's like, no, it's got to be more complicated than that. It's got to be, because otherwise, what reason would you have to focus on me?
Exactly. And the only opinion, you know, is your own anyway, right? And so there's not even anyone else's opinion. And so as yours shifts or drops, or you realize that you just don't know anything, you just don't know anything, then your opinion is the only thing that's there. Like, oh, like the unity stuff is an interesting conversation, but the realization that your opinion, like your perception, is the only one, you know, that's the only one that has to change at all. Because if yours isn't there, if yours isn't there, there isn't one there weighing down. Oh,
Yeah,
my.
our perception is just but a perception, you know, at the end of the day. So even that is not true. Like anything I could possibly think is just not true. It's based on a perception. It has to be. That's the only way we can process the information. So with that in mind, I don't have to take anything fucking seriously, is all that says, basically.
You're just
So
left with
that,
what you're doing.
a fucking man, brother. Yeah.
Just
That-
what you're doing, and the story that you don't have to tell yourself. You can just
Yeah.
be there without the story. Like,
That's
story
it.
doesn't have a benefit. And
You
it
see,
is
what am we going to
optional.
charge for, though, Andrew? Sweet Jesus. How are we going to make a profit if there's nothing to get anyone to? If we're not important or necessary in their path, how is this ever going to be a business? It's like, it's not. It's the whole fucking point. Isn't it funny? Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to let go of profit, you know, and all that other stupid shit. And so it really is just about being there. Just be, just let people fucking be. That's why I love the retreats. Jay, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the Netherlands. That's going to be fucking dope. We're going to have a lot of community members there just chilling the fuck out.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you for being
Fuck
here.
yeah,
We
dude.
Pleasure.
appreciate it.
Great to see you, Jay, as always.
You too, guys.
See you, man.
The timer thing makes a noise now. It never did that before.
Yeah, because I always caught it before it went off.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm a little slower to the trigger today.
That's okay. That's okay. It's a new thing to consider. Just so everybody who is on the show knows, the timer is more of a guideline than a set, you know, get the fuck out point. So I just want to mention that very quickly. We have another person from the community, Jackie. Jackie would like to talk about reckoning with my womanhood, taking responsibility and softening around the edges. Now, I am personally very excited about this because I have not honestly had the chance to chat about reckoning with my womanhood. So this is going to be a very good conversation.
You haven't gotten to that layer of your ego development.
I've
yet,
spent
Raj?
some time there. Because it's important, especially being, you know, the father to a young lady. So there's definitely some introspection that's happened, but it hasn't come up on the show. My womanhood has not come up on the show.
Fair enough. We'll have to get there. Community topics. Andrew and Ray's
Womanhood. Jackie, good to see you.
Okay, what up?
Guys, yeah, I gotta say, there's not enough girl talk on this podcast, but like, of course there wouldn't be. Not that there's really that significant of a difference, but oh my gosh, yes, I have quite the story. I mean, where do I even start? Okay, I guess we'll start at the retreat. As you guys know, when I went to the Vermont retreat, which we'll get into, I'm sure, I took the bus or the van, Levi's van, with a bunch of the community members. And I remember we stopped for lunch at this place. And I remember bringing up because I had this experience where I was approached by this guy at the beach, basically, and we have the conversation, you know, and I knew where it was going. Like, I mean, I didn't know, but it, you know, like, and I was thinking to myself after that, because like we had a long conversation just for me to be like, no, leave me alone. Like when he asked me for my number, whatever. And I'm like, is it nicer just to ask people straight up what their intentions are? Like, is that rude to do? And I was asking this to like Pam and Tyson and Levi, and what we basically settled on was there's no right way to do it. Like it's dependent on your mentality in the moment, like how comfortable you feel. And I remember just being perplexed by all of that. And then just after going to the retreat, a lot of shit came up for me in terms of how I'm creating a conceptual idea of who I am in the world, and that it's me doing it. Like, it's not other people doing it. And like, yeah, like in normal life, shit like that happens. Or like, another thing that happened to me was somebody fucking took my pictures and my username and made like a fake account of like not safe for work content that I found today. And so that happened. Like, shit like that happens. And I'm like, you know, of course I would feel scared or unsettled, or like I need to protect myself at all times and just be on high alert always. But at the retreat, I didn't feel that way at all. Like, it was so crazy because I didn't know like an environment like that existed. It felt like family right away. And like, I remember I had a huge realization about how like I'm kind of uncomfortable with casual touch, or like being in certain situations with men, or like in talking to certain people for too long. Like, I create an idea of what that means. And, you know, that goes back way back to like even my childhood, like getting teased for having crushes and shit like that. Like, it was just projected onto me. And like, it's not my fault that I feel that way, but I just realized now that it's my choice whether I want to carry that weight on my own back or let that shit go. And so it was nice to practice in the retreat, like what that feels like. And so now, since I've come back, I just feel like a lot more powerful. Like, I realized how I was taking my own power away and standing in my own way of how I wanted to live my life, and just settling into the reality that it is just me. Like, it really is. And I make the rules that I follow, and I can decide to change my mind at any moment. And so I'm getting to this other story, because yesterday I was at the beach sitting by the ocean vibing, and this guy comes up to me and he's like your glasses, whatever. I'm like, he's just like, do you live around here? And I'm like, oh, here we go again. So I asked him straight up, I'm like, why did you come talk to me? Like, I'm curious, like, why did you come talk to me? And he goes, you guys are gonna love this. He goes, you know, I feel like I just had like a download from the universe that I was supposed to talk to you. And I was like, oh my God, he did not know the fucking can of worms he just opened, because we got into this whole fucking conversation. And I was like, I don't know, man, that sounds like a whole big story. He was talking about like how there's different races of people living on the planet, and how there were certain souls that chose to come down here to like awaken collective consciousness and cast out. And I was like, I was just poking holes in his argument left and right. And he's like, he even brought up non-duality. And I was like, the audacity to bring up non-duality when you're very clearly like drawing lines between people. And like, okay, like, I was like, yeah, I'm sure that makes you feel good. But if you're looking for me to agree with you, that's not going to fucking happen. Like, the story, like the conversation was just going in circles. And eventually I was like, hey man, like, we're going in circles here. I'm just trying to chill, if that's all right. And then he was like, all right, have a good day. And he walked away, and we did our own thing. Like, we both like went swimming in the water and came back. And, you know, later he came back up and was like, hey, like, I don't want to leave things on a angry note. And I was like, yeah, like, no bad vibes at all. Like, I was just having a conversation. I was like, what's your name? He's like, I'm Michael. And I was like, yeah, I'm Jackie. Nice to meet you. Like, have a good day. And it's nice that, I don't know, it was funny. It was like that situation that I've previously been uncomfortable in, or like, like uncomfortable in, or felt like I need to be nice or like say a certain way. Like, I use that as an opportunity to make a ripple, because I know he's going to be wrestling with those questions that I asked him. And, you know, who knows where that'll go, but I got to use it as an opportunity. So I'm sort of just like seeing, you know, how the cards that I've been dealt as a woman, I could be all upset about it, or I could choose to not let it bug me and then in fact use it to my advantage. So that was a full fucking circle moment. And yeah, I'll hear your thoughts now. I've been talking for a long time.
I appreciate that. No, I would have to say that I think it's just perfect because like I've received a download. It's like, no, motherfucker, but you're about to. And that's exactly what that conversation was just a shit ton of opportunity for him to question and grow. And that's the reality of a so-called download, is just paying attention when you're really uncertain. And so it's really nice that you took that moment to go, I don't know what this moment is. Let's fucking make it something. Right? Because that's really what it is. That's what we did at the retreat. Like you could have went into the retreat. You could have went, oh, this seems like other moments I've been in, and then set the tone based on that. Or you could admit, well, that might be the case. I don't know. And then you just have to pay attention moment to moment and feel it out each and every time. But it's so easy to get hurt by somebody and then for the rest of your life, think you're going to be hurt by everybody who appears to be like that person. Right. And it's always just that superficial need to go, I feel like I'm in danger, but you're stronger than that. You're stronger than that. You're stronger than what you think. You're stronger than any situation you might come up with in your head. Right. And the only thing you can do is just go moment to moment to moment. So that's fucking epic. I'm really happy for that guy.
Fuck yeah, Jackie. Yeah. And you're stronger than that. And it's like the willingness to recognize that and then do the thing that's bringing up the discomfort, right? So even come to the retreat, being at the retreat like that, even if there were familiar feelings, it was still the willingness to step through and do that. And now it's just as you realize that, because even those hesitations are, bound in a degree of certainty of this is going to be how it was, or this will be better if it is how it was. And I'm having like my own sort of thoughts about things I'm feeling right now as I'm trying to talk about yours. And I was like, fuck, does that have anything to do with what Jackie's dealing with? Anyway, but it's that the willingness to go through despite similar feelings coming up. And then you find out, and then it's the finding out that then shifts the other things, and your willingness to, despite familiar patterns coming up, act differently that changes those familiar patterns. And I love to hear that dude came up thinking he was, that if he maybe saw something in you that he thought was spiritual. And I just love, it's like chef's kiss that you're like, listen here, bitch, let's talk about these downloads you're getting.
Oh yeah, it's fun, like just fucking not being what other people expect you to be. It's fucking sick. But yeah, just I'm realizing more and more that the only thing that's keeping me in the same place is my own thoughts about the world and about myself, because that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That becomes what you enact. What you believe about the world is how you behave, it's what you give off. And I've been trying to just take the fucking leap. Even being here, I've never been on an episode before. And I felt nervous about it, but I was like, I'm going to keep going. I felt nervous about it. But I was like, because I felt nervous about that, it's like, I have an idea that people are going to judge me based on this. I have an idea that I'm not going to know what to say. That's not fucking true. Let's just go do it. So yeah, I feel like I'm really starting to like fucking walk it. Like I talk it, like the concepts came first. But the application is so much better. Like it really sinks in and you feel that like I have just so much energy now. And like, yeah, I just have so much energy now. And I'm noticing like since I've come back from the retreat, I'm just doing and not thinking about it. And I'm like, these are the things I've wanted to do the whole time, but I was too caught up in how I was going to do it that I wasn't going to do it. So now I'm just stepping into shit. And that's all you can ever do. Like you have to, I made a video where I was like, you have to just walk yourself where you want to go. Like you're walking a kid to fucking kindergarten. Like you can be that for yourself, that rock of like, you don't know, let's go see. And yeah, and I'm fucking excited to keep doing it. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I love you, you know that. So Yeah, and hopefully I'll be at another retreat soon.
I don't doubt it because wow, did you ever make the most of this one? And it's great to see for sure. And this is exactly what I was saying earlier. It's just relaxing, just being ourselves. And all of a sudden you're like, I can do that. Like, yeah, if you want to. Like, if you want to, go nuts, right? But it's if you want to. And most people is just like, should I? It's like, who are you asking? You know, will life be better? How long will it take to get? Look, as long as you're doing all that shit, you're not really doing it. You know, like you're looking for some reassurance, but your life doesn't feel better until you toss your fucking your hat in and go, all right, I'm in. Fucking try some shit out in the moment. That's when you're learning. It's not about the concepts. It's funny. All the concepts just led you to a point where you're like, you fuckers are saying all I can do is just what I do. It's like, exactly. All we're saying.
Just keep doing it. And you don't have to measure it. You don't have to judge it. You don't even have to think about it. If not that it's if you don't want to, but you know, it's not a requirement. You can just do it. There's always something to pay attention to, right? There's always some conversation, some situation, and you don't necessarily have to have so many thoughts about it or perceptions of yourself as you go. Like the only perception of yourself is your own. That's the only one you can ever know. So as that isn't as serious anymore, as you take that a little more lightly, all the other ones that you thought were there aren't. They're not. They're just fucking expressed through you, put on other people. Prioritize yourself. But the application, the benefits of that, whatever the fuck else isn't the application, I don't know what even is that. Just the conversation.
Thoughts, they don't
Oh gosh.
get you anywhere. No matter what you're thinking, you're sitting where you're at. So yeah. So just realizing you could never know is what snaps you into the present. Because like it all comes back to you here now. And all roads lead back there. All roads lead back to you. And yeah, so all we gotta do is keep calm and carry on. And with that, I bid you adieu.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. This has been great. Thank you for coming on to the show, Jackie, as always. And I look forward to seeing you at another event soon.
Absolutely. Great to chat, as always. Talk to
See
you
you
soon.
on
Jackie.
Patreon.
Yeah, right. We have a tier 2 call after this. So I will see you there.
Yeah. All right. See y'all later.
Bye.
So before we get to our next guest, I just want to say very quickly that Jackie is one of many people that I've had the opportunity to meet and mingle with over the last year. We've done 8 retreats, or at least we're going to be doing our 8th retreat since November of last year, which is just fucking surreal. It really is. But what's amazing to me is that I've talked to these people before they come to the retreats. I've come to these people, I've talked to these people and come to these groups and had these conversations where they've communicated exactly how fucking lost they felt. You know, how hard it was for them to speak up, how hard it was for them to relax, how hard it was to do all the things that they're fucking doing easily now. And it's just because they had the space to stop telling themselves it was difficult. And for somebody who struggled through that shit for, you know, a good part of a decade, it's like watching little miracles happen. It really is. It's just incredible to watch somebody's life in the span of a year, 6 months, sometimes 3 months. Just suddenly it clicks that the entire time they could just stop doing the narrative, that the narrative that they've been trying to wrestle with is optional. And it just hits. All of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, what? And it hits them. That's why I love the expression, this isn't what I thought it was. I love that. Every time I hear it, every time somebody finally gets to that wall and they're like, this is here because I keep putting it here. That makes me laugh, because we always think that success or enlightenment or peace is breaking through the fucking wall, not the recognition that the wall itself is an illusion that we keep making.
That we keep buying into, that we keep investing in, that we keep fucking focusing on. And it's like, it's kind of optional. It's kind of optional when you realize that it is, in a sense. Like there isn't, like, it's like I could see there was no benefit to doing it. It wasn't a necessary component to stepping into each and every moment. But it's like when it hits zero, you realize, oh, there isn't actually anything that you could possibly think about that would benefit you right now. Like those things are diminishing your entire fucking experience, and you can just live for you. And I know I've said that too, but like, holy fuck, dude.
But this is true even on the extreme end. You see, immediately, and I can already hear somebody going, sure, tell that to someone who's starving. Sure, I will tell somebody who is starving, as somebody who has starved, that the thought that your life will be better if you had fuck tons of food and what all the other kids have and so on and so forth is making you more miserable. Doesn't do a goddamn thing about how much food you have, is what I'm saying. It does diminish what you can do right now. It diminishes how you feel about yourself, and it gives you way more excuse to fucking judge yourself. Way more. Okay? So all we're saying is those thoughts don't fucking change anything. Your ambition to maybe, go and work, or to go and meet somebody, or go and establish some connection in the community, or to go and step outside your comfort zone, that shit's going to do something about your situation. But judging yourself for what you don't have, trying to get somewhere in your head, like one day when I'm there, doesn't do fuck all about now. It just makes you feel shittier because you're painting over now with something that you think is going to make you feel better, but it makes you feel farther from it. So yeah, even in the most dire situations, the thought, I wish this was better, hurts. You can just do what you can do now. And the more you focus on that, the faster it changes. It doesn't change because you're chasing some fucking carrot. Okay. You can chase the carrot. You'll have so much drag because you're so afraid of the stick. Okay. That you're not paying attention to the step that you're on. And so you're tripping and you're falling. You're chasing this carrot, running from a stick and falling over and over and over again. How efficient does it sound? Just let the carrot and the stick go. And suddenly you're on the step you're on. You're still walking. You're still traveling. Now you're actually paying attention to the journey instead of just trying to get away from somewhere or to get somewhere else. We're not saying that life is miraculously going to turn from fucking poverty to riches overnight just because you've stopped thinking about things. But you certainly won't feel as fucking poor. You certainly won't feel like you lack as much. And that's a step. That's the step that allows you to feel like you have the potential to change. It's really just as applicable as it can be. But people who are like, oh, it's not a silver bullet. Why do you need one? Why do you need that silver bullet? Why can't you just make a little change here and now? Or perhaps you're just coming up with a reason not to. That said, we have another guest in the queue, Jazz, who has been to a couple of retreats as well. This is quite the crew. I'm just going to shut up and let Jazz in. Jazz would like to discuss how reality is always reflecting what you are. So this is going to be a good conversation. Or maybe it won't. Maybe we'll just shoot the shit. Who knows?
All options are on the table. Any end of the spectrum. What is up, Jazz? Good to see
Hello,
you.
guys.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic.
I love the wallpaper today. Very colorful, very mushroomy. Enjoying it. Yeah, I was talking with my mom a few days ago, and she was telling me about how she was reading this book and how it was like she was reading something in the book and how it was reflecting back to her something that made her realize something, and how special the book is because of that. And I was telling her how and she said that it's never happened with her before except with the Quran. Like, she's Muslim, and so she notices it happens all the time. Like, she might be thinking of something and then she'll open the book and she'll see something that will reflect directly back to her about whatever she was processing at the time. And so that this happened with this new book that she was reading. And so I was talking with her about how I feel like that happens all the time. And it's just about how clear it is that it's happening, or how willing you are to see how it's being reflected back to you. And how and so she after that she was talking about the law of attraction, and how so I wasn't even sure what the law of attraction was at this point. So I asked her what it was, and she was telling me about how it's like you want something, and so then you have it. Like you want something, and you want something really badly, and so you just like think you have it, or you just like embody it, and then you will have it. And so I was talking to her about how it's not, I don't think it's necessarily that, as much as you may also like repel things all the time. It's not necessarily that you will always get what you want, but that reality is always reflecting back to you whatever you are embodying in this moment. And it may be something that you happen to want, but it may also be that you want something and you're not getting it because of how badly you want it. Like you're so overcommitted to this thing that you're not really embodying what it means to be the person that you would need to be to have that thing. Like you're not exactly being, for example, I was noticing how my social circle has changed so much over the past year. Like in the beginning of this year, I was noticing I had like a lot of girlfriends in the beginning of this year, and they were very specific type of circle that would gossip and all these different types of things. And as I was changing, as I was changing and just being a little bit more myself, then I was just I was saying what I was thinking, and then it would cause drama, emotions, eruptions, and so that circle kind of broke off, and I'm not friends with a lot of them anymore. And it's like even when I was friends with them, it felt like I didn't really want to be friends with them, but it's like I want friends. I'm like getting some kind of um sense of identity from having friends. And so it was really hard to like break it off with them. But I had changed, and so my reality reflected a change in my social circle, just regardless of whether I wanted it to be there or not. It just happened. And then like that space opened up where I didn't have the social circle, and then I connected with the DU community more. Just kind of happened. And so I was talking a lot more with the DU community and coming out to retreats and stuff. And through that experience, I was noticing how much of an overinvestment I had in a social circle providing me with some value to my experience. And so then I started enjoying my alone time more. And so just like enjoying just being at home alone, or doing whatever I want alone, like hiking alone or whatever it is. And so I started really enjoying that. And then I noticed now uh, there are a lot of other friends as well who I didn't necessarily like break my friendship with or anything like that, but we just don't talk. And even when I do invite them, and honestly, like the funny thing is that even when I invite them, I don't necessarily want to hang out with them as much as they're the only people I know. And so I invite them and they don't want to hang out either. And so that's super funny. It's super funny how even when I want to like just do something for the sake of doing it, regardless of whether I want to do it or not, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And so I was then noticing as well how like all the connections that I'm seeing in my life are reflecting back. Like if someone is uncomfortable with whatever I'm saying, and I'm just being myself more and more, then I'm not gonna see more like as much of them, because who they were friends with is not who I am anymore. And if they're not willing to change with that or evolve with that, then it's gonna necessitate a change in the circle that I'm hanging out with. And so I was noticing then how, because of this, like because I was spending so much time by myself, I was like, okay, I want to do stuff with people. And so then I was like, okay, let's hang out with people. And so then I was noticing how there was this resistance to being myself because of an overinvestment in the perception of other people, of what they might be thinking about me. And so then it's like, okay, of course, if I'm not being myself around these people, then one, they may want to hang out with me, but they're not even hanging out with me. They're hanging out with something that I create on the spot based on what I what I think they will appreciate or accept. And so yeah, I've just been in this space lately where I'm just saying whatever the hell I want, well, just not caring what other people's perception of me might be, because I can't fucking control it. And it is interesting to see it is interesting to see what kind of people just come into my life without me trying at all, and just, but at the same time putting myself in positions where I can meet people, but just not not trying to control anything at all. It's just showing up as myself. And so it's funny how there was this overinvestment in wanting to have friends, but the less I want to have friends, the more I'm okay with just being myself, the easier it becomes to, first of all, enjoy my experience when I'm alone, but then also to be myself when I am with other people, and to see whatever is resonating with that show up, just show up without me trying to do anything. And so I've just been really appreciating how just things are just happening when I'm like getting out of the way.
'Cause if you're not prioritizing yourself, or if you're not being yourself, you're not prioritizing yourself. Like there is a subtle investment in some other experience, like some other perception. Like there's some investment. If you're not fully prioritizing your own experience, you're taking a chunk of that fucking 100% potential and giving it to other people, but it's not even that they're getting it. It's like they're actually getting less. Like you think they're giving them 1%, 10 people, 1% each, but it's actually being taken because it's just you. It's just you and your experience. And so why the fuck would you ever invest in someone else's perception? Or because investing in their perception is investing in their experience, thinking that you're benefiting them in some fucking way for acting differently than you would act if there wasn't anyone else. But you're not benefiting anyone. You're actually not harming anyone, but you're cutting down yourself because it's just like that's all you got to prioritize is your experience.
I don't think it's about making it beneficial for anyone else as much as prioritizing the fear that I'm feeling, and prioritizing what may or may not happen if other people are thinking a certain way about me. Then at the end of the day, it's all about me. It is my experience, and it is me wanting to make sure that my experience goes smoothly, but it's just such a convoluted and mistaken way of approaching it that it doesn't work out at the end, because you have no control over anyone's perceptions, and you never can.
You can try though. I mean, that there's an entire industry of politicians that have mastered how to try and control other people's perceptions, right down to whether or not, like, what tie am I wearing? Do I have my flag pin in the right place? Like, it's all that. It's all just trying to cater to these superficial assumptions and judgments. And so we create a superficialist society in doing so. Right? Oh, he's wearing the flag pin. The flag pin. He must be patriotic. It's like, it's a fucking pin. It's a pin. I can put it on. Doesn't say shit, not a goddamn thing. But if you want to believe it, and why do you want to believe it? Just because you want to fool people. That's why we believe superficial people, is because we're superficial. Generally, it's like, no, they're fooling me. I got to be fooling everyone else too. As soon as we question it, though, it all falls apart, and you have no control. No control. Doesn't matter what you do. None. They could have fucking, I don't know, terrible breakfast that day, and as a result, just decide that they're pissed with you. And what did you do? Nothing. Somebody just pissed in their cornflakes, and that had nothing to do with you. but you can try so hard to make sure that person's happy with you. And did you account for their breakfast? Guarantee you didn't. There's always things that you don't account for. So why even bother?
Yeah, and that takes so much of your energy, and that takes so much of your energy and takes so much effort that is not really going anywhere. It's a wasted effort.
I know where it's not going, into what I'm doing. That's where it's not going. It's not going into my life. It's not going into this present fucking moment. It's going towards all of these fucking thoughts that maybe if I've got everything accounted for, then I can enjoy this present moment. It's like, you're not even in it. You're not even in it. How can you enjoy something that you don't even know how to taste, touch, and smell? Like, because you're so lost in your thoughts. It really is a practice. And as soon as you come out of it, everybody says the same thing. I love this. This is something we've heard already twice during this show. There's so much energy left. Why?
Because you're not putting it back into your idea of yourself. Because it's such an energy drain. It's such an energy drain to think about yourself all the fucking time. Oh my God. Okay, I want to get into something, but I want to make sure there's no one else in the waiting room.
There are two people in the queue. This is our busiest call-in show yet.
That is awesome. No, I want to hear from them. I'll leave it for the Patreon call. So if anyone is interested, make sure to join Patreon. You'll hear all about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome plug, Jazz. Thank you.
Fuck yeah. Tier 2 free trial. Jazz, always a pleasure chatting. But great to see you. We'll talk to you in about an hour.
Hell yeah. See you guys.
Right. See ya. I really like
kind of a fun little fiesta here on this episode, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
It really is just a celebration, as everything should be. You know, at the end of the day, it's not that things aren't hard. It's not like, you know, I don't have shit happening in my life. It's not like there aren't, you know, concerns. It's not like I'm not going to end the calls today and then go back to an existence where I have fucking bills and shit. You know, there are responsibilities and whatnot, but that doesn't mean it has to get me down. That doesn't mean I have to get all like, oh, my life would be better if I didn't have anything to deal with. Have you ever lived like that for very long? It's boring. It's boring. And if it wasn't for the fact that you take your shit so seriously, you would probably have more fun doing it. You know, frankly, if you weren't so concerned, like if you drop the ball, it means that you're a failure. You wouldn't worry so much about dropping the ball. You'd realize, oh, it's just a chance to pick up the ball. Now I'm getting better at picking up the ball. There's always something you can take out of it. We have another person. We have two people in the queue. We had another person and they dropped out. I'm assuming we scared them off. This is Justin. Justin would like to talk about technology. Now, what I find interesting here, and this immediately dawned on me, what is technology exactly, other than just another adaptation that our awareness is using to encourage more growth, right? So if that's the case, then there's parts of your body that at one point were new technology to the human experience, like your prefrontal cortex, for example, or your corpus callosum. You know, the connection between one hemisphere and the other, that wasn't always a thing, right? So that, in fact, changed the entirety of human history after that, because now the two hemispheres could communicate, right? And so that in itself is kind of like the body's technology. So is it only technology because we view it as external to our body? In which case, are we just identifying with the body? Justin, good to see you.
Hello. It's real nice to see y'all. It's real nice to see y'all. I just popped in, saw y'all, and so I missed my pop in. I thought about this really deeply last night. I was in my room. I was fucking as usual, just fucking stoned. And I was just sitting, just looking at my computer. I was looking at my computer and just being fucking complex. Like, this is not something probably like nothing of essence that you got to probably fucking like looking deeply to. But I just want to share how fucking weird it was. Just like to fucking look at my computer and like be like, holy shit. So fucking Bluetooth, this piece of shit, this is no cords, no fucking cords. This is insane. What the fuck? Like, holy shit. I just been looking at my computer like, okay, so like just by this information device being in a certain area makes me connected to all the information in the world. Holy fuck. And like you can get on a call in 1 second with someone all the way across the fucking world in 1 second. That's insane. It's insane how no one could have put like, it's insane. Someone like, I'm so excited to see how technology is going to progress. I'm so excited because not even 20 years ago, not even 20 fucking years ago, we couldn't imagine the type of shit, fucking all this types of shit. You could not imagine. And just speaking how like long like the human life expectancy, someone born in 1890 has the possibility of seeing and playing Donkey Kong. It's insane. So imagine if I let's say if I fucking live 70 years, imagine the type of shit I'd be able to see. Just like technology, it gets better and better. The more advanced it gets better faster. It gets better faster. And thinking of that, it's just like, wow, holy fuck. And I don't know if y'all been be fucking and paying attention, but AI, that shit is gonna change a lot. It's gonna change a lot. It's not gonna only change technology. It's gonna change us. We just a phone, a phone, a phone has like times 1,000 times of information the Library of Alexandria ever had, just a single phone. And we get, and it's like everyone has it, everyone has it, and it's insane. It's insane. And sometimes we give our kids this with unrestricted access. Who just unrestricted access and thinking that's not going to change society in some way. Is definitely going to change society. It's going to change how like the way like is definitely going to change like how we are structured just by like we having this so much like access to seeing everything in the world. We could see it and like everything. It's going to change. It changes everything. It changes our perception. Just information. It changes everything. And I don't know, like is with human, like with societies, the generations before pre-industrial era, the generations from one to another, it wasn't too distinctual, like it wasn't too different. But like you could see later in the future, like in this modern time, the generations are like very distinct between each other because they grew up around different technology. They grew up around different, like technology requires some form of interconnectedness between the society. So like with having a large scale technology, it requires society to become more like come back together, like more unified in a sense. So yeah, I'll let y'all you speak on this, but it really seems like how how the more you tackle the things that you're anxious of, things that that are as fears, you can get better and better at it more the more you tackle, the more you're able to actually look at it and not actually look away from it. You can get better and better from that. And the same thing is the same thing with technology. Technology, it still progresses. It gets better and better faster the more it goes. So yeah.
It's funny. I have the benefit of being old. And so I remember I was born in 79. There was no internet and there were no cell phones and there were no answering machines and none of that. And then when I was about 10, 11 years old, I discovered computers and I discovered how to program. And that should change my mind about everything. I was just like, oh my God, anything's possible. My favorite movie as a kid was Short Circuit. I don't know if anybody here has ever seen that. It features a robot named Johnny Five. It's the first real example of artificial intelligence in a fictional sense that I ever come across. And all of a sudden I started learning how to program and I started learning assembly and I started learning a bunch of other stuff, how to network. The internet came into being, wireless devices, all of these things just came out in the first 20 years of my life. And I felt exactly the same way about the birth of AI, the potential for human beings. And what I saw was all of this technology enabling people to continue to be irresponsible, to continue to distract themselves, to continue, if anything, to do so more often because there was more of a capacity for them to just get lost in this shit and not think for themselves. And the AI is no different. I mean, it's not genuine AI. We're just talking about processing logically, right? And so all it's doing is it's enabling a bunch of irresponsible people. It's not to say that it's not useful. It's not to say that it isn't going to change the face of technology. It doesn't change our priorities, though. It doesn't change who we are in any way, shape, or form. I wish technology had the capacity to bring us together. What it does have the capacity to do is be obvious that we are connected. Because as you were saying with Bluetooth, there's nothing connecting this thing. Correct. And it's not disconnected, is it? Why do we think we are? Why do we think we're disconnected? Why do we think our thoughts are disconnected? Why do we think that we're not absolutely wirelessly connected all the fucking time. We can do it with technology, but it's not possible with an organism that's been here for fucking 3 billion years. Like, it's just ridiculous. So there's an insight there, but technology isn't the silver bullet. It can't change us. We have to change. It's just showing us what's there. Science is doing the same thing, but look how long we've known energy is all connected. Look how long we've known it can't be destroyed. It can only change. And yet we still maintain this idea that we're disconnected regardless.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That is, yeah, I did get caught up with that in the like technology can change us, but I was kind of more referring to like how societies like in general, like they have they have to change themselves. There's not going to be any external force that will actually and change. You have to look at it yourself. The outside world doesn't mean anything, no matter how advanced. The thing is that like society is able to like, well, if they do have like a little bit like less fear, like when they've worked through like less fear based between the separation between them and other people, technology has the potential to embody that. Is that a potential to embody that lack of separation that's already like inside of us. It can well, I guess it'll be pretty hard for society to really like be really into like can be really fearful without like okay, they're being fearful, that's really like hindering development, is being fearful of the person that's right in front of you, having an idea of them, thinking that having a fear of them, and like having everyone else in that society also believe that, that's probably also going to hinder the development of just society. And it's like and technology can reflect how they like view themselves in a way. So yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's definitely super interesting. I'm curious if it even has to do, if it's a component of our development, like if it's even remotely in the same track of like the reality of the continuously playing out intelligence that is, you know, that eternal intelligence playing, or if technology is just kind of a distraction on the side a little bit. This prioritization in all of these things being something that's almost like, as we, and it's not to say that we're not evolving right now, but as we shifted our priority away from our experience, like our own experience for ourselves, it was necessary to prioritize other things that we could think are, and then put progress on that and define progress based on those other things. So it's no longer really human progress coming together as much as it is other things progressing. So we think of human progress now, we kind of equate it to technological progress, right? That's how we measure it. It has nothing fucking to do with our experience. We use them for our experience, but it's not the same like buck stops at me type, this is my experience, because it's an equally double-edged sword as anything else that can has the potential to sway my experience one way or another, as does any investment in any perceived benefit or anything outside of yourself. But it still has nothing to do with me prioritizing me here and now. It's still a sort of external option. I just find it interesting that now we kind of define human progress and equate it to technological progress.
We always
Yeah,
have to some degree.
Yeah.
I mean, right back down to like, you know, when we were first creating aqueducts and learning how to mill stone and even fire, right? Fire is what changed humanity. Changed our entire history. And that was it. Fire was the technology because it led to metallurgy. It led to a bunch of other shit, including cooking. This has been a fun conversation. Technology is a hell of an interesting conversation because, again, what is it other than an extension of life? Like, we tend to get caught up in that. Justin, I really appreciate you being here, man. I've got some words about AI. I'm going to ramble for a bit after you leave, but
Yeah.
always nice to have you call in. I hope we see you in the Patreon group later.
Okay.
Great to chat, Justin, as always.
You know, one thing I wonder about, and I think it's really funny because, of course, you know, companies are using AI all the time now, but they're always doing so with the profit-centric model. Like, it's like, how do we use AI to, you know, increase productivity and get more money out of this and pay less people for it and so on and so forth. But, you know, if we were to actually like take AI, which all it's doing is processing information really fast and really intelligently. That's all it's doing. It's not self-aware, but it's really good at processing information. And so what I find funny is that because of the balance of power, because of the way the world is structured, because we have all of these divisive governments, because we have all of these divisive mentalities and ways that we identify and the need for more power and so on and so forth and so on and so forth, we would never use AI for what it would be ultimately most useful for, which would be calculating all of the amount of food and resources that are created on this planet every year, and then actually distributing it intelligently. Right? How many people need what, where, and how many work hours per person would be required to maintain society rather than to maintain a profit? And immediately AI would be like, well, I'm sure everybody could work like 2 hours a fucking day. Like, and because we know this, we know that there's enough of us working together that there's no reason we all have to be working 40-hour work weeks doing shit, creating products that nobody fucking needs just for the sake of making a profit, right? AI would revolutionize mankind if we were to just use it for what it's for, processing all our goddamn data, right? But we don't have the clarity to look at that data in a way that's useful because we're fucking greedy and corrupt. So this is it. Like AI, like all concepts, like all tools, is just a tool. It will always just reflect what our priorities are. But that said, as our priorities change, AI opens a lot of doors, you know, like what I was just saying there. Somebody could use that idea in itself to start looking at the needs of their own community and help and get AI to help them plan out how to distribute the resources or how to build more resources, how much time, how much labor needs to be allocated. All of this can be taken away from greedy motherfuckers who would be at the top of the fucking pyramid. And AI could help do that, right? But it comes down to us. Now, we have another person in the queue. Unless, Andrew, you'd like to throw something in?
Nothing crazy, just crazy how much it just comes down to our priorities. Like anything, it's like our priorities can shift anything. There's the potential for anything to be used in any which way. And it just depends on our priority. And we keep thinking that there's like something that's going to solve everything, but it's always coming from us. And so we're not figuring anything out. And it goes for both society and yourself, like thinking that there's something else that's going to do it. No, it's just you and your perspective on things that shifts your experience. Like that entirely shifts. Like it starts at you, it ends at you, always.
It's funny how often you come right back to that if you're willing, right? But it's just the willingness. That's really what it is. That's why I was saying in Discover Transcendence, cognitive dissonance is a force. You know, feeling uncomfortable at a thought and the ability to just distract yourself from that thought, the fact that your brain's like, I don't like that. How do I get away from this? On its own. It does that on its own. Think about that, okay? If you don't feel good about something, your brain's like, how do I feel better? Immediately, as a survival mechanism. And if you don't know that's happening, you're fucked, because you're always going to get caught in that cycle. That's why it was one of the ones I covered and Discovered Transcendence, because outside of identification and habit, cognitive dissonance is a force.
Oh man. And then it's like, and whatever it is, it's like if it can't find something immediately to feel better, like a belief, it'll keep like, and that's the spiral, right? Like like, I don't like this one thing. How can I feel better? Oh, I can't find something, can't find something, can't find something. And then it's just like, oh, I gotta find it, gotta find it, gotta find it. And like, that's like the feeling I've gotten in my life a lot. Like that sort of spiral thought pattern.
You and me both,
where it's
buddy.
like, holy shit.
All of us.
And it just runs because I'm not willing to question the root of the thing, my opinion that then has to, I don't like this. yeah, but you don't know that. But it's like, if I invest in that, then it's, how do I feel better? How do I feel better? How do I get to the spot? And it's like, whoa.
This is a perfect segue for our next guest. Ben would like to discuss, and I was reading this, being fed up with people's bullshit. And that's a really good starting point for this, because it really comes down to, do you have to be fed up to stop putting up with it? Does it have to bother you at all? And if you are fed up, why? Why have you been tolerating it this whole time? So Ben, it's good to see you, man, as always.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh man, good to see you guys. It's been a while. So yeah, like I wanted to talk about being fed up with people's bullshit. But then there was this really interesting conversation about technology happening too. So I kind of want to talk about that too. Cause like and I'll start off with like a funny, something kind of light that like, I heard this joke on Twitter the other day that programmers are just digital plumbers, because plumbers push water through pipes and code programmers push electricity through wires. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That's actually how I've often thought about it.
Oh, cool. Cool. So we're just, we're plumbing away.
Well, because what's it like with water and with electricity? They're both a current, right?
Exactly. Water pressure is also analogous to voltage as well. So it's very, very interesting. But I do want to talk about a question in the chat about Bluetooth from a very inquisitive individual, that you can connect to devices through Bluetooth, we're kind of using that analogy to people so that they can be connected, like, for example, like on this call, but you can disconnect devices as well on Bluetooth. So does that imply a disconnection between everything else? And no, because in that disconnection, there is a potential to be connected. And if the potential is there, then it can't be disconnected. And then it can only just go through the moments of existence where it is and it's not. There's always the potential for it to be perceived as disconnected and connected, but there's always the potential to go back and forth. So, and also none of those moments are separated. So you can't really say that it's disconnected.
Yeah, well said. So I think how I was thinking about it with Bluetooth was, it's like, because there is no division, no disconnect, but if you connect to Bluetooth or whatever, you connect to devices, it's like there's an ability to transfer a different type of energy, like if you have Bluetooth headphones, you can then transfer a song through and like that energy shift. But then if you disconnect it, it's that there's not that option to then transfer that type of energy or sounding energy or whatever, but it has nothing to do with there not being a division anymore. Right. And so it's still always there. It's just the ability to transfer a different type of energy, but it doesn't mean that there's anything actually being disconnected.
Right. Because another example is a WebSocket connection, where you're sending live data back and forth between two devices. You can open and close that WebSocket, but it's the potential for it to be connected is always there. It's just a matter of, are you sending information between those two devices right now or not? So
it's interesting because the difference, of course, being that, we're talking about wireless devices that have simple switches, right? Like shutting off a certain port or shutting off a certain frequency or anything like that. We do not have that. We are, in fact, always running, unless, of course, you're dead, in which case now you've turned off the device, as it were. No more connection. But even then, you haven't turned off the device because you are, in fact, still matter. You are still the device, as it were. It's this perception of separation. So this is why, while the Bluetooth thing is cool, it's also not, unfortunately, accurate, because we are not disconnected, right? At all. Like nothing really is. And neither are Bluetooth devices, right? Like the only thing is, all we've done is shut off their ability to relay the information that's there. The information is still there. right? The connection's still there. They're just not doing anything with it. Right? And that's kind of the whole point, is the connection is always there for all of us all the time. The only difference is we don't have to do anything with it. We don't even have to recognize that it's there. We don't have to use it whatsoever. We can actually tune it out. We can totally disregard what's happening from moment to moment to moment. We have that ability, but unfortunately, we don't have the ability to disconnect. Just perceive that disconnection, as you said.
Exactly. And a device, I'm just thinking about it in terms of like names too, that like every phone has a serial number, but the serial number isn't the phone. It's just what you call it. Also, like as well as with this MAC and IP address, they're all just parts of the phone. It's just like your name. Like it's like when you're talking to someone, you call them by their name first. And so you say their name first, so you get their attention. And it's like putting their IP address in front of like the packet of information, and then you send your message afterwards. So it's really no different. It's not even a phone. It's like you could say energy, in a very, very intelligently packaged way to send information. And it's funny because like people are always, they say like, so we live on a watery rock. So where does the internet come from? How do you create the internet from like mud? And it's like, that's just such an oversimplification of like what's actually happening. Like there was an eternity's worth of moments between mud and Wi-Fi that it's people they get caught up on like, what was step one of the internet? Who decided like, okay, now there's a network of transistors. Okay, but like someone had to come up with the idea of a transistor. But before that, someone had to come up with the idea of a switch. And then before that, someone had to come up or receive the concept that something could be on or off. And that had to come from something before that I can't really describe. So you can keep going back as far as you can, but like it eventually just goes back to like, it's just the potential for it to exist. And this is one of those realities where that potential was realized.
One of those realities. Right? This is where I am. There's even, oh man, that one fucks me up a little bit, that there's no other experience. Like there's no other reality like this. Like we, like being at the forefront of it, like the front of, it's like almost picture like a Lord of the Rings war scene where it's like the whole army is running at one. It's like, that's it. Like that's eternity, reality, all that is going through that. There's not another sort of moving through, but then it's just, you're moving through yourself. So there's the perception of a movement through this here and now as it. And it's fascinating to see the developments you're bringing up with the transfers and the, you know, moving throughout, and just the continued developments and the fluctuations in the utilization of different developments, all based upon how I perceive myself, how we perceive ourselves. And so it's like both the progression, striving, and like subtle shifts, maybe one step back, two steps forward, but it's a perceived development based on our own judgments. Because there could be people who think, you know, someone who's at, you know, top of the fucking egotistical food chain right now, who perceives all of these developments as progressive, versus someone who isn't experiencing that, you know, extreme comfort or whatever, would say that maybe there's been a lot of regression. And so it's just our own individual perception of how things are playing out. But it's fun to see it all, and just how much is going on all the time.
And that perception, that self-perception, is also the reason why I said that this is the one reality where it was realized, that trips me up. That there is one of it, and like I have this idea that there's other realities, other universes where this technology didn't get realized, but they all did. And it's like, I think of this conversation that, or just the mental picture of a fork in the road, and you're sitting there and you're deciding, should I go left or right? And then like you go left, but you actually go right also. And you experience both of those right now, but based on your self-perception, you perceived yourself as going left. And that was the reality that coincides with your perception because you're that limitless.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we're not actually moving through time so much as just perceiving a before and an after in every iteration of now, which is kind of fun. This has been a very fun conversation, Ben. I'm glad that you stopped by. We're going to let you go just because we have one person left in the queue before we wrap up for this episode, but I do hope to see you on the Patreon call. I know you have a Wing Chun class once a week, so I'm hoping that's going well, but if we can, I hope to see you in the group next.
It is. Yeah, I'll be there. So I'll see you guys there.
Awesome.
Great talking with you.
See you, Ben. Yeah, great to see you, man.
You know, the only thing about these 10-minute limits, of course, is the fact that these conversations get quite deep, right? There's a lot that we can talk about. I love the fact that you're still chewing on the whole current thing. Andrew and I actually had a comment here on the corner. He's like, wait a minute, hold on. So if electricity and water are currents, what else is a current? I'm like, well, money is a good example, currency, right? And it's all just trying to communicate how we flow together, isn't it? But I'm going to leave that alone for now because we have Amanda in the queue, who I'm hoping has fixed her internet problems. So we're going to wrap this up with a chat with Amanda, like bookends.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Fucking. All right.
She'll be here shortly. She said, I think
Dude.
she believes she's smoking a joint, is what I think.
All right. The current, like current events.
Yes, exactly. Now, because that's the only place the flow exists, right? Amanda, hello.
Hey.
Conveniently in your car. No reason.
I was smoking a joint. It was awesome.
Fuck yeah.
And your internet is working. It's nice to hear from you.
Well, at least the data on the phone is working for sure. We are not connected to any Wi-Fi, but it was really cool to hear the conversation about the technology. That was blowing my mind because we connect, like people connect just like Bluetooth devices, and you get to see that most clearly like when you're on shrooms, but you don't necessarily need the shroom because there's always like a flowing current of like energy and information between people, and that's just nonstop. It's just whether or not we pay attention to it.
Exactly. Like all the time. Like that's all that there is this in your soul. And it's like, it kind of, I don't know, I've been getting that feeling of like thread in a blanket sort of feeling, you know, like there's everything that you do, of course, has influence on everything that you are. Just right now is it. And it's interesting how, because it's nothing that you've done, but our investment in doing things outside of the only place that we've ever had push or pull on that thread of reality is where we're at. And so the investment in ideas like thinking about yourself in the past, oh, remember when I was this or that, or holding on to fucking like a trophy or something, thinking that means something, is like, or investing in where you're getting, where you're going, fear of where you're getting or where you're going. It's all like fucking taking away. And that's actually, that's what we ended with, I think, before you left, about the spreading of the energy versus the focus of that, like the only fucking place. And that's where you have influence on it, like yourself. Absolutely. And that's just it. And that has influence on yourself.
It's fun to try and use words, isn't it?
Don't ask me what I just said.
Thank God it gets recorded. And when I was having my connection issue earlier, I thought to myself, I was like, well, you know, I really said it for me because like the insight was for me and it hit me so hard when I was driving. And I thought, you know, as I apply it, as it sinks in more, that is going to ripple out anyways. And so I don't need the words to be the only ripple. Like I'm going to be the ripple regardless. So whether or not the words were communicated was just a bonus. If it could be heard, but it was still deeply felt. And I thought that was most important.
Always. And because it's that's all it comes down to is that like, and in that, like, because it's the recognition that you're everyone and everything happening. It's like you don't have to do anything for things to happen also. And that's the balance, is that you have the option one way or another, but you're always doing it. And so whichever side, it's like finding that balance and recognizing that the only thing holding you back or pushing you to doing something outside of the flow of the sensitivity of where you're at is an investment in something else. And then when there isn't so much, it's like, you know, fucking opens you up and it's like, here are things that are happening. Those are all things that you can do now, and you can do them freely. But until then, it's like you're either doing them with a weight or not. But then they become just a fucking option because you can, because you're looking at fucking what's happening as opposed to your opinion.
You're on mute, Amanda.
No, but it's just regardless of the option you take, it doesn't eliminate all the other options. And so everything truly is optional, because at any point you can just put it down and you don't even have to question why you want to put it down. You can just decide because it just doesn't feel like where you want to be. And so I really have been loving that analogy, Andrew, that you said the other day about like, if you were on a deserted island and there was no one around, would you make the same choice? Oh my God, I have been sitting with that. I have been loving it. I'm like, personal island, would we? We would. Fuck yeah, let's do it. And so then we go through and it's just another practice, because eventually like I'm going to get so used to just being able to listen to my body, listen to the feeling, listen to where I'm at, and just know just exactly where that now is going to transform. And so that's going to become even more effortless. But I definitely like the island question for right now, because it feels like just the little helper that I need.
Exactly. I like the island one. And I was thinking of it too, because like, it's almost, at least for me, I think about it like, oh, what would I, would I wear this thing or would I act this way or whatever? But it's even, would I have any degree of hesitation in what I did? Like, would it dictate my actions? Like, if I was alone right now, like, how would I act? Well, of course I would prioritize my experience and not invest in other bullshit that's only weighing you down. Like the thoughts only weigh you down. And so even when someone has a judgment or you see that happening, it's like they're just, by even having that thought about you, if they do something or say something, that's weighing them down in a sense. And so, and you taking it is just you investing in your thought about it, because you don't even necessarily know what's in there. And so any degree of investment in thought as a benefit is just a weight, and it doesn't really make any sense to weigh yourself down like that.
And that's where things change. That's where things change. It doesn't change if you're like, oh, I know they're saying that thoughts are getting in my way, therefore I'm going to watch out for thought. It's like you're thinking about it. Just keep thinking until your face gets tired from grinding against the wall. Then you're going to go, that's a fucking wall. And it'll sink in. And at that point, you just stop grinding your face against it. That's all that happens. It's not like you're like, oh, it's a bad idea. I want to be enlightened. That's why I'm going to do it. No. That's all thought. It really is just straight up recognizing that you're burning yourself, that you are burning yourself by digging into this dualistic idea of yourself. It's not that the universe isn't duality. It's not that everything isn't the experience of division, but you're not. You're not. You, what you actually are unity. Acting, being, doing everything all the time now, forever. That is the reality of what you are. What you're experiencing is a dualistic perspective of that. And you can do them both. You can, and you are. You have been this whole fucking time. The question is, are you sinking into that idea of yourself, which is not the reality? Your idea of everything else will help you kind of come to terms with it, but it's also not the reality. A tree is not a fucking tree. That is just a word. Just knowing that allows you to be in a state of being in an open mind, of just going forward and seeing what plays out, and allow yourself to unfold. This is why we say unfold, not go out and see what you're capable of. You're already doing what you're capable of. Just watch it. Just watch it, just throw yourself in and see what happens. Stop telling yourself a story. And of course, your brain's going to be like, I got a story about that. Let it do that. You don't have to worry about it. It's not the truth. You don't have to stop it. That's just another story. This has been a fun episode. Amanda, I'm glad you came back. I'm glad you joined us for the end of this episode. It's really nice to see you. We are going to wrap up here. We have a Patreon call in 15 minutes. I'm going to allow Andrew and Amanda to close this episode out, but I want to say thanks for everybody listening to this episode, being here, participating. This has been our busiest call-in show.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much, guys. It was such a pleasure to listen. Everybody, Jackie, Justin, Ben, Jason, everyone was just very inspirational. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in the Patreon call.
Amanda, great to chat. Always fucking love your insights. And you're already doing it. Holy fucking A shit balls.
All right. One last announcement quickly, just because this just came through on my email. Another person purchased their ticket for the Vancouver retreat, which means that there is only 2 tickets left. So if you want to come to this retreat, I highly recommend you get on those tickets now. Do remember that Patreon supporters get discounts, sick discounts. Tier 3 gets a $350 discount. Tier 2 gets a $150 discount. We are going to break here and continue on at the top of the hour. Patreon.com/dualistic unity. Andrew, man, this has been a blast.
A lot of fun.